All right, guys, welcome back to the show. This is episode number 3 in the expert series, Austin. We only released one, but this is number 3. Today we got a special guest, Ryan Oake. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump right into it.
Where to start? So I've been a mortgage broker for almost 12 years now. I got licensed in 2014 while I was in university to make some side money while my dad was doing this. He started doing it in 2010-ish, around then. Um, Everything that I was doing in university that I loved, he was doing with mortgage brokering, sales, marketing, managing. So when I finished university, I gave it a go for a couple years, enjoyed it, stuck with it. And I've probably been doing it full time now for 8 years, 7 or 8 years, but licensed for 12.
And then if you don't mind us asking as well, so when you were doing it, quote unquote, part-time, what were you
Yeah.
doing outside of mortgages?
Well, I've done a lot. Before I got into mortgages, I was doing city equivalent stuff like skating lessons. I did commercial fishing. I did sales at London Drugs. I worked at a hotel downtown. I've been all over the map. I know what I like
Wow.
and I know what I don't like.
Yeah, all things that commercial fishing, all things that translate to people, giving people money.
Exactly.
What does sales at would you say London Drugs? What does that look like?
What does that look like?
What are you
Staring at
selling?
20 TVs on a shift, trying to tell
Oh,
people
okay.
the difference between plasma and LED.
Okay. That's hilarious. That's good though. I mean, it's good sales experience to have given the industry we're in. I mean, it's not that we necessarily consider ourselves salesmen, maybe mortgage brokers less so than realtors, but it's still good to have that experience, how to talk to people, how to
That's
deal
just
with.
it.
Yeah.
It's talking to strangers. It wasn't so much like, how do I sell a TV? It's how do I have a conversation with someone without sounding like an idiot?
Exactly. How do I fake it if I don't know the answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we just want to kind of jump into some stuff about how you've grown in your business. Hopefully get some things that have worked for you, maybe some things that haven't worked for you. But let's start here. What's one piece of advice that you'd give yourself on your first day of business? You're getting into brokering, you're just starting to do it full time. Like, what's something that you would tell yourself if that's where you're at right now?
I had this one written down. It was a good question. I thought about it when you guys sent it out to me on Wednesday, I think it was. Growth in this industry is time.
Okay.
Like, you can't do something like Austin and I were chatting before we started, like how long you've been doing the podcast for. You can't do something for 6 months, get no business from it or no traction, and give up on it and say, oh, that didn't work. It takes years of establishing relationships and joining networks like BNI, Chamber of Commerce, working with realtors. Like, you're not just going to pick up the phone and have a couple conversations over 3 or 4 months and all of a sudden start getting business from them. And if you do, it's surface level and it's not going to last.
For
So
sure.
you
Yeah.
need time. So don't get discouraged because you don't have any business. Like, perfect example, I joined the Chamber of Commerce in 2016. I didn't even meet anybody or have a relationship with anybody until a year in. Business and referrals and transfer of trust didn't happen until 2017, 2018. It took a long time, but because I stuck with it for a long time, there was a lot of business going back and forth between me and people at the chamber.
Amazing. Amazing. It's funny you actually talk about the Chamber of Commerce because that's something that I've been looking into more. Actually, I sent Austin a message about this recently. We've been chatting about it. We don't have to talk too much about it, but it seems like a good way to meet other business owners in your community and just build your network, like you said.
And to learn
And then,
about the community.
yeah, for sure. Exactly. What else is going on in the community? And going back to what you said or your answer to that question, I think the biggest takeaway that I got was it's consistency and
Hmm.
it's not expecting things to all come together right away, right?
Hmm.
Like you're starting from nothing, and in our industry, we don't typically you're not handed a client base, you're not handed clients. You show up, you got to work, and you got to figure out where you're going to find those clients. And just sticking with it is probably the best piece of advice that you can give most people, is that it will work out if you're willing to continue to put in the work. So I think that's great. Um, Austin, do you want to rattle off the next question, or do you want me to keep going here?
Yeah, you're on a roll. Let's keep her going.
Okay. So what's talking about the clients you have now, like what's one way that you keep in contact with clients, and or maybe what are some things you've tried that haven't worked and do work now? Like let's talk about how you're maintaining your relationships with your clients.
Existing.
Yeah, existing. Let's talk about existing.
Recently it's been, well, it's cold. No, there's Velocity, the platform that we submit mortgage applications to lenders through. They've got a CRM component that I've just started, not just started, but I have been implementing. And
Okay.
that's touching existing clients, maturity dates,
Hmm.
anniversary dates, the year of maturity. I think it's 180 days out, 90 days out, 60 days out,
Right.
and 30 days out. Like, it's constantly sending emails, phone calls. I'm usually talking a lot at closing. I used to, and had more time to go physically visit clients when they got their keys from the realtor during possession.
Mm,
That helped a lot because for mortgage brokers, that's many times the first time I'm actually meeting my client face to face.
yeah,
You might
absolutely.
be doing video calls and stuff like that, but physically seeing them, and you're seeing them on the happiest day when they get their keys to their place. So if that question was catered to a newer broker on what they should be doing with their existing, if you can go see your clients when they get their keys from their realtor and show up on possession day,
Hmm.
one, you get to meet the client. The other one, you get to meet the realtor. If that
Exactly.
realtor is not a referral source of yours, they get to meet you. And if you did a good job, maybe there's an opportunity to establish a relationship there. So that was huge. And then I always called everybody 30 days after closing to make sure they didn't have any questions.
Okay. That's
A,
great.
a
Yeah.
lot of a lot of
That's
phone calls. I wasn't doing a lot of face to face.
Yeah, and I think that's fair to say, because in our specific part of the industry, it's not as common to meet people in person.
Mhm.
Whereas with Austin, it's almost, I can't think of a case, Austin, maybe you can speak to this, that you haven't met a client in person. Like I'm imagining you must have met them all in person.
No, yeah, I mean, especially if they're physically buying a place and
Right.
you need to show it to them. So yeah, I mean, that's super important on our end. But also, I think one thing that Ryan touched on, like one thing I'm trying to do more is it's very easy to do the virtual thing and be like, oh, let's hop on a Zoom or I mean,
Hmm.
obviously we're recording on a virtual platform and there's other reasons for that. But even lately, I've been trying to do things like meeting clients for a coffee now, as opposed to hopping on a Zoom, because then you can chat with them in person. And as much as, it might take an extra 15, 20, half an hour to get to see them physically, it makes a big difference to me. I just, you can just have, from my experience, like a better conversation, more productive one, if you're able to do that. That's just what I try and do. And obviously that takes more time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about meeting people in person and talking to them. But has that changed for you now, Ryan? So let's maybe talk about that a little bit, because you're obviously in a different role than you were when you started, and please feel free to speak to that. How have things changed in this new role?
Yeah. So at the beginning of the year, my dad and I partnered with Paul, who owns the brokerage that we joined in 2016. So we've got an ownership role here, and I became the principal broker, the DI. And there's been a lot more training and mentoring, maybe, but it's a lot more training. Everyone's still their own individual broker here,
Hmm.
but there's been a lot more time and effort put into that to help the newer agents who are coming on. So I'm never meeting clients face to face. I'd like to, and I
Yeah.
know there's a couple brokers who are established that have started doing their compliance paperwork signing in person to at least get in front of them one time. Um, but yeah, meeting clients has not been a priority is the wrong word, but it hasn't been there opportunity wise and just in terms of time.
That's easier said than done, I think. Like, as much as maybe you like that more, for a lot of people, it's not more plausible. Like, if you have 4 or 5 applications or 4 or 5 people that you need to converse with in a day, probably doesn't make sense for you to be able to commute all over the Lower Mainland to 4 or 5 different spots, and it's probably unfair to ask them to all come to you, especially.
Well, and when you're getting keys from a realtor, it's usually on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. It's usually not in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. And, it's catch-22. You're so busy right now with so much business coming in, but you got the personal side of it. So if I'm going and meeting clients who are getting their keys after working 40 or 50 hours during the week, that's taking away from time with family.
Right.
Totally.
So if you've got like I've got a 22-month-old and a new one coming at the end of November.
You're going to be busy, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Austin can relate.
Yeah, I got a 3-year-old and a 2-month-old. So, yeah.
You're just coming through that first wave. But I mean, I'm not sacrificing time with my wife and kids to go do physical meetings when clients are getting their keys right now. I'm just not.
Yeah.
When I didn't have kids and I wasn't married, I was.
Yeah, and I think that's fair to say that your business will adapt to your own personal life as well, and I think that's reasonable. And I think clients understand that as well.
And to be honest, and like I say this to people all the time, referral partners. I'm not gonna work with you, or you're not gonna work with me if we don't have the same outlook on things.
Right.
I don't want to work with a realtor who's ditching their family to focus on their business. Like, I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't expect somebody else to be doing that. So, yeah, you definitely attract similar people in terms of outlook on life.
If we can backtrack, one thing you touched on that I think is super interesting with your role with your brokerage now, you said that you guys are doing a lot more mentorship and a lot more training. What challenges are you finding that either experienced brokers or even people being new into the business, what challenges are they having, and what kind of things are you helping them with?
Well, for the newer brokers, the biggest challenge I'm seeing for those that are coming from a different profession is they really struggle with the freedom. Like, you do not have someone telling you where you need to be. You are 100% and on your own. It's the benefit of being on commission, but it's also the downfall of being on 100% commission. You don't have somebody who's holding your feet to the fire saying, hey, you got to be here at 9 a.m. You got to do this today. You got to make these phone calls, and you got to go to these events. So I find a lot of people in the very beginning, if they're coming from another industry, they really do struggle with structure. If it's structure they have to implement themselves. And when it comes to experienced brokers, I'm not really working with a lot of the experienced brokers right now. I'm obviously taking phone calls from them, but the biggest hurdles I'm seeing them face right now, and it's slowly starting to go away, but it was the rate wars. And it was, my client went into a branch because they had to open a bank account, and the branch who I already sent their mortgage application to is, trying to take my client or poach my client. And then you get into a rate war with branch and broker channel. And at the end of the day, no one wins, because the client is now having to work with 2 individuals, one of which is employed by the person the client's already approved with. And it destroys the whole process. And then you get into issues where the broker has a horrible experience with that lender and does not want to work with that lender anymore. So that was, that's changed. I think there's a lot more parity right now in terms of, there is going to be a lot more parity in terms of what is being promoted through the broker space and what is being promised at the branch level.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Austin and we talk about that personally, I think. I don't know if you talk about it a ton on the podcast, but it's a really good insight, because there is those battles that people maybe don't realize between the broker and the and the bank, let's say. And I think, like you said, they've gotten better about it, but you still hear cases where people go in to collect their deposit, and then next thing you know, they're like, hey, why don't you come sit down with us and we'll have a talk about your mortgage? And then now you're competing and you never expect it to be. So it does happen. And I think that's hard, especially like you said, for newer brokers, because they're like, oh, I've got a client. It's great. I'm about to close. And then all of a sudden they receive a text message or a phone call like, hey, I was given this rate at the bank. Like, it's like, okay, great. Now what do I do? Right. And I mean, that's hard, right? Because that's on us to provide value beyond rate for sure. And also explain the situation, because they might not understand, like, why is the bank that I'm already approved for now telling me I can get a better rate? And then maybe they look at you and they say, hey, why didn't you offer me this? Right. And it sometimes comes back on us, and then we're made to look bad, which, let's be honest, Ryan, you and I are not in a position where, like, you know what, we're going to give you a worse rate because we can. We're going to give you the best option we can based on what's available to us. So those things are frustrating.
Well, I always like comparing it to a realtor. Like, you get an accepted offer, let's just say it's $1 million. And another realtor comes along and has the ability to say, I can go get you the same accepted offer for $995. Well, of course you can, because you already have the accepted offer. You don't have to do any work. You just discount it. So
Exactly.
that's the frustrating part for me. But I'm just trying to think right now, if a borrower or a mortgage broker were watching this podcast right now, the number one thing I would want to make sure they know with that conflict of walking into a branch that you're already approved with and them trying to steal it, or even a different bank than who you're working with. A bank is not going to call you in the middle of your term and tell you there's a better option at a different bank.
100%.
So walking in and getting a haircut of a discount of 0.1%.
That's going to save you
0.05%.
That's going to save you $15 a month at most. You know what I mean?
Well, and what's the trade-off?
Yeah.
You now went direct to the lender. They're not going to help you in the middle of the term if there's a better option somewhere else.
For sure. They're not going to check in with you annually to make sure that everything's okay. They're not going to send you a Christmas card. I mean, these are just examples, but like, at the end of the day, the person you deal with directly at the lender is typically not the same person you're going to deal with again either.
No.
Like, right? They're an employee, as you said. So that's who you're dealing with.
Yeah, like RBC is not going to tell you in year 3 of your 5-year term, hey, go to TD Bank and pay us a penalty because you'd save money at their interest rates. Like, it's not happening.
Exactly. No, that's our job to be on top of that and share that information. And you and I both do that. So it's good to know that insight, because we don't necessarily, like I said, we don't talk about that so much, but it's nice to hear another broker talk about those things, because not everybody's aware of what's going on behind the scenes, and not everybody's aware of the service that they could be missing out on by making that choice. So,
well, and this is something for brokers, and we're going off on a tangent here, but stop me if I'm going too far off the rails for you. The one thing that I see when it comes to brokers is they'll fight and fight and fight to get the client by offering the service that separates them from the bank. They'll call them at 7:00 on a weeknight. They'll do mortgage or document review on the weekend. They're texting and calling outside of regular business hours. That's the whole, not the whole, but that's the major value proposition of working with an independent mortgage broker. If you're giving them all that while they're at the bank, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
right.
So I've started telling people, look, if we're just doing a mortgage application right now and you want to go talk to other people, please do. Go talk to your bank. Go talk to another mortgage broker. I'm fine with that. The only thing that I ask is that when you get an accepted offer or when your mortgage application is ready to be submitted, make a decision.
Right, exactly.
You don't get to use my services and ask me questions and get access to me, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, while at the same time you're working with someone else.
Yeah.
You can't have both.
No, I think that's good. You're kind of front loading people to say, look, like, I know the value I bring. I know that I'm the right person for you, but if you want to go and look around before you decide that, that's fine. And that's being confident in what you offer. And the problem with that, though, is not every new broker is going to have that confidence, right? They're trying to take whatever they can get.
Well,
so it is different.
Yeah.
I think some of that experience also is too, and I think we've all had situations. I know I have where it's like, you start working with somebody, you start giving them a lot of information and basically starting to service them as a client. And then, at the 1 yard line, they end up working with someone else. And it's having confidence in saying like, hey, look, like I'm here to be a resource value here, or a value for resource. But it gets to a point where you're like, hey, look, like this is really getting down the road of like, you got to make a decision. Are you working with me or not? Like, are we going to dance together, or are you, because you have to commit. It's not fair to have somebody putting a bunch of time, effort, value, energy, resources into working for someone if they're just going to pivot somewhere else. It's having confidence and saying like, hey, this is getting to the point where, either we're working together or we're not. I'm happy to help, but again, we have to draw a line in the sand at some point, right?
Well, and you can't be entitled about it too.
Yeah.
Like you can't say, oh, they talk to me first, they're my client. It doesn't work that way.
100%. Yeah.
So that's why I actively promote multiple conversations with multiple people at the very beginning, because I know I'm not the right person for a lot of people personality wise. And if they don't want to work with me, that's fine. But let's figure that out now in the beginning so no one's wasting each other's time and you're dedicated to the one person that you do want to work with.
Yeah, I like that.
Very well put. If we can go back to something else you touched on being one of the challenges that you find people getting into the business are having is like scheduling and structuring their day.
Yeah.
What were the type of things that you did in order to be successful and get to where you are now? Like, did you, schedule your whole day in a calendar, or like what were the tasks and items that you were focusing on from day to day to kind of get the ball rolling for yourself?
Yeah, that's one of my strong points is organization. So not only are my days in my calendar, but every single individual task that I have is written down in a calendar. And the more consistent I could be with a daily routine, the better I was. So, I like talking 3 years ago before the DI role and the ownership role was there, because my days have changed a lot. But when I was only brokering and working on my own book, I had to exercise in the morning and I had to get out of bed and do that before the day started. Like that had to happen. Had to walk the dog, had to go for a 30-minute run, whatever it was. Something had to happen in the morning. That got me out of bed and made sure I eat before 8. Like when you first start and you want to jump into work right away and you're like, oh, I'm hungry. It's 9:30. Next thing you know, an hour goes by and you're 2 hours behind on work because you were in the kitchen all morning. So making sure that you get everything done out of the way with in the morning so that when you start work, you're not distracted until the end of the day was huge. Phone calls during certain times of the day, like time blocking. Like, don't just say, I want to make 10 phone calls today. Say from the hour of 10 till 11, I'm only making 10 phone calls. I'm not looking at my email. I'm not going on social media. I'm only doing phone calls. And tracking was huge. So I would track hours that I was working every day.
Okay.
Because it's really easy for people to say, oh yeah, I work 60 hours a week. It's like, well, what'd you do
Doing
during
what?
those 60 hours? Like,
Yeah.
were you on Facebook for 2 of those 10 hours that you worked every day? Probably. So I used to write out, okay, I started work today at 9:08. And then as soon as I got off my desk, I just wrote down what time it was. And then at the end of the week, I actually added up how many hours I was doing. And in the very beginning, I realized I was only doing 20, 25 hours of actual work.
Right.
And then I held myself accountable to it where, yeah, I should be doing 35 or 40 hours. And it just kept me honest. So structuring the mornings really helped. And then making sure I was tracking how many hours I was actually working, how many phone calls I was making. That was a huge benefit.
Okay. I like that. We've had 2 other guests before this. One of them, their big thing was having a plan, and that's very similar to what you're saying, but he was talking more like business plan. And then I'm trying to remember what Ty said, Austin. Do you remember what Ty said about when you asked a similar question to this?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was big on calendar and time blocking, but I think, Ryan, I think there's a golden nugget there. And I hope that, if you didn't catch that full answer, please go back and listen to it. But the way I would almost like rephrase what Ryan's saying is like, it's very easy in this business to feel busy. It's very different to not feel productive. So like as a realtor, as an example, by the time you get into the office, you know, make a social media post on Canva, maybe you meet a mortgage broker for a coffee, check out a pre-sale that's new in the area that you got, you know, invited to. You got in the office at 9 and it's 2 o'clock and you haven't actually done anything that's going to bring you business, if that makes sense. It's not very frequently that people are just going to look at a social media post and be like, well, got to reach out to Ryan now. It's doing all the other stuff. It's following up. It's having conversations. So really, really great answer there. And I hope you guys really picked up on that.
Well, and the benefit of tracking everything is you can go back in when you're in the next year to set your goals. Because if you tracked how many phone calls you made, how many hours you worked, and how many networking events you would go to, I had all that written down. I would just look and see, okay, how much volume did I do? How many transactions did I do? Because they're directly tied to one another.
For sure.
So if I broke that all down, I believe it was, I had to make 50 phone calls a month and I had to go to 4 networking events a month and I had to do 6 sit-down face-to-face meetings with referral partners or clients to get to the volume that I wanted to do where I figured that was successful.
Another really
tracking those numbers is huge.
Another really good golden nugget there. Like, where is your business actually coming from? Right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, one thing I do as an example is at the end of the year, I reflect, okay, where did my business come from? You know, if I'm doing 5 open houses a weekend and I have, you know, 2 transactions from open houses, but I've got 10 of them from client events, maybe I should do more client events.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think there's a point where you have to kind of try a bunch of stuff and see what sticks and see what you're good at. Yeah, really, really, really key point there. Another great golden nugget.
Yeah, I really like that. It's a way to quantify what your goals. It's a way to quantify how to achieve your goals ultimately. Not everybody's that works that way, right? I mean, I think as a broker, you obviously have to have a pretty good understanding of numbers. But I don't think everybody works that way. But I think that's a really good way for people, especially new people, to be like, look, I'm not making phone calls and I'm not seeing any business. And it's like, okay, well, try making some phone calls and then figure out what happens from that. Maybe you get 1 meeting out of every 10 phone calls. Maybe out of every 5 meetings, you get 1 application. I don't know, something like that. And then you can, like Brian, you just said, it's okay, if I make 50 calls and I do the other things, I'm going to reach this volume. And if I want that volume to double, well, then let's double it, or let's figure out what specifically is going to help me grow faster than maybe some of the other things that I'm doing. And eventually maybe you reach a point where you have to have somebody work with you because you're like, I can't put all my time into creating more volume because I simply don't have that time. And that's kind of a good way to look at it. So Austin and I have talked about that with some of the other guests as well. Is like, how do you figure out when you need to bring somebody else in? I don't know if you want to speak to this, Ryan, because I know you've taken over a new role and I don't know if there is an opportunity for you to bring somebody in to help you, but is that something that you've thought about?
Yeah. So don't get me wrong. I'm still brokering.
Yeah. I don't want to say you're not. I know you're not. I know you are.
No, there's 2 different areas to have somebody come on, but from my experience watching people as well as brokering, I personally feel like, was the question more so when do you bring that person on?
Yeah, like, is there a point like where it makes sense for somebody to bring somebody in, or maybe just specifically for you? Like, have you thought about, hey, now that I'm doing this other role and I want to still continue to grow my brokering business, maybe I hired a licensed assistant so they can do a lot of the back end stuff while I'm still talking to clients as well as doing the training aspect.
Yeah, I've thought about that. A blunt answer is 30 million. I think if a mortgage broker is sourcing $30 million in mortgage origination,
Yeah.
you should be looking for an assistant. Yeah, you could probably do 30 on your own, but when you get to 40 and 50, you're not going to have any time to train and get and implement an assistant.
Yeah, so you kind of have to get ahead of it, is what you're saying.
You do. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to give up. Well, there's 2 things. I don't want to give up the money and I don't want to give up the trust because I don't want somebody else coming in and taking over my business and messing it up.
For sure. 100%.
You will reach a stage where one thing's going to, or something's going to give. Either your work's going to give or your personal life's going to give. You
Typically, it's the
cannot do
personal life
both.
that goes first. Sorry, it's
It
personal
is.
life is typically the one that takes the hit first, right? Because you have to get the work done. And just so that everybody understands what Ryan means when he says 30 million, he literally means funding a total of $30 million worth of mortgages. And then obviously you get compensated based on that number. And I mean, that's quite a few mortgages. I think the average mortgage size nowadays is like what, 400,000, maybe it's 500,000. So I
That's
mean, you
like
got to do
50, 60 mortgages, basically.
yeah,
I mean,
that's
yeah.
that's 5 a month, right? Like that's basically one a week. Like you're basically got to be closing a mortgage every single week, which in theory doesn't sound crazy, but the reality is you're not going to be consistently doing one a week. You might do 4 one week and you might do none for 2 weeks, right? So there's going to be that trade-off.
Well, then back
Um,
those numbers out. So if you know that you have to do 4 applications for every one to close,
yeah, there you
you
go.
knew you have to do 4 a week. And if you have to make 20 phone calls to get 5 applications, now, like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like
A lot of,
you
yeah,
can quantify this business very easily.
Mm.
for
You just
sure.
have to make sure that you're tracking what you're doing.
100%. And that's a really good way to put it. But then that goes back to what we are just talking about is at what point are you not having the time to make those phone calls, which means you can't bring in the business, which means you can't reach further. You can't reach a goal that's beyond what you've already achieved. And that's where, like you said, bring somebody in who can do, typically when they bring somebody into our industry, and this applies to Austin as well, is they're doing stuff. They're maybe not doing client meetings. Maybe they're doing stuff behind the scenes. For Ryan and I, a lot of that is underwriting. It's the stuff that most people don't see. And then for Austin, it can be anything. It can be open houses. It can be also like administrative work. So a lot of that stuff is very time consuming, and you can't make phone calls, for example, while you're reviewing an application. Like it's just you're not going to be able to focus on what you're doing. So I think that's really well said.
Yeah, basically you're buying back your time, right? You can't be in
Yeah,
2 places at once. If you know that you got to make 50 phone calls a month in order to have that amount of volume, but you're doing that volume so you can't do the calls, you need to help find somebody to help you do the applications so you can do the calls to then bring in more business, right?
Well, and I know mortgage brokers are doing over 100 million and they've got 2 assistants. All they do is phone calls.
for sure.
That's their role. They bring in business. Maybe they do the applications, and then it's off to the 2 people who underwrite it and send it into the lenders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I think Ryan, maybe you remember this. There's like a term that Gary Morris. So Gary Morris is one of the founders and still, I don't know if he's not the CEO. I think he's still considered the president maybe of DLC. But he has a term for like a position, and it's like, do you remember what it is? It's something to do with
Director
like,
of WOW.
yeah, thank you. That's the
Yeah.
exact one. And maybe can you speak to what that is?
It's basically someone to mine your database and make sure that you're staying in touch with all your referral sources and clients.
Yeah. Okay.
It's someone to promote who you are, who can go in and call all your past clients and make sure you've got all the accurate information in your database. Have they moved? Are they married? Do they have kids now? Do they need to refinance their home? Do you have all the accurate information in your database from your own clients? Because, once you've been in it for 5 or 7 years, that's where the bulk of your business is coming from.
That's right. Yeah, and it's a good touch point because maybe some of those clients you haven't talked to in many years, and you're like, hey, this is the director of WOW that says, hey, look, I'm sorry I haven't touched base in a while. I'm gonna be much more involved. Like I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
check in with you more regularly. And they obviously introduce who they are, and then now you have a dedicated person to manage your client base,
Mm-hmm.
which is so valuable. And I mean, again, this is something that can apply to realtors as well. It's not just a mortgage broker. Because you just never know where opportunities come. And honestly, your existing clients, I haven't been in the industry that long, but I found that to be the most valuable asset to me so far.
Well, and one of the things being a newer broker that you can do is if you don't have the existing clientele or you don't have the database,
Yeah.
how many people are you talking to that? I remember when I first started, I would send out messages on Facebook to people, letting them
Okay.
know I was a mortgage broker and asking if
Yeah.
they needed help with the mortgage. A lot of the times they said, I'm not even looking right now, or I already have a mortgage.
Right.
Don't say, oh, okay, too bad. You already got your mortgage. I can't help you. Say, when's your maturity date?
Yeah.
Because I know that there's brokers out there who built their entire book of business off of getting maturity dates. They would go around and ask everybody, when does your mortgage mature? Because when it does, I'm going to be hounding you and I want your business.
100%. And who knows, maybe there's an opportunity now. Like, hey, do you want me to review your mortgage to make sure it's still the best option for you? Send me your statement. I'll review it. They could be paying an interest rate that's well beyond what current interest rates are. They don't have any idea because they don't keep in touch with that stuff. And now you save them thousands of dollars in interest. Maybe they can consolidate some of the debt that they have. Like there's opportunities if you're willing to ask. And not everybody's going to receive it the same way, but I think what Ryan's trying to say is like, try to get some information out of it when you do ask, because the opportunity might come later. It might not come right now. Austin, do you want to rattle off another one here?
Yeah. Ryan, from chatting with you for the last, 35, 40 minutes here, mindset and business seem very like front of mind to you. Like you have a very structured and operationally focused, brain, for lack of a better way to put it. What are some of the podcasts and what are some of like the self-development things that you've done in order to get to where you are now? Do you have a favorite podcaster, books that have helped you, just anything that kind of comes to mind that got you here?
I kind of jump in and out of podcasts. I used to listen to audiobooks and then I found I wasn't retaining as much because they were just playing and it was going in one ear and out the other. So then I tried to get into podcasts and then I just got into hard copies of books and then I kind of go in and out. Right now, the only one that I'm listening to, and it's for my own personal finances, is I can't get enough of Dave Ramsey. I love listening to his podcast because it's literally listening to 15 or half a dozen people over a 2-hour podcast explain their personal finances and him critiquing it. And you just get to, like, no one gives education on finance. It just doesn't exist for simple finance stuff. Like, can I afford a car loan? Like really, really basic stuff. So I really enjoyed listening to that because it's kind of opened my eyes up, especially when people come to me and they've got, mortgages up for renewal. They've got a car loan, 2 credit cards, and they just want to switch their mortgage. It's like, why are you not rolling that into your mortgage and saving $900 a month on cash flow? Well, I don't want to tag on 30 years of paying this back. It's like, okay, that's fine. Make prepayments on your mortgage, but still put it into the mortgage. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
free up that cash.
Well, and some people don't even realize that they can do that. Sorry, Ryan.
No,
they don't even understand that as an option. But you're right; it's higher interest debt, and it's why not try to lump that in? No, I think he's a good resource.
Still trying to pay it off in a couple of years. It's not. I'm not saying take your car loan that's done in 5 years and pay it off in 30.
100%.
That's
get rid of that loan.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing about car loans, sorry, Ryan, this is a little sidebar here. The nice thing about car loans is you can pay them off without penalty. Almost always in your contract, does it say that you can pay this off entirely at any time and there'll be no cost to you? Whereas with a mortgage, as we know, there's always going to be a penalty. I shouldn't say always, almost always going to be a penalty to break that mortgage or to pay it off early. Whereas with car loans or with credit cards, like you can pay them off anytime in full. And then now you've got one easy payment. We can figure out, hey, your car was going to be paid off in 5 years. We can increase your payments so that you're still paying off that portion of your now larger loan in 5 years. Like it's not hard for us to do that. And now you're making only one payment out of your account every month. And you know exactly what that number is going to be. So,
I also really have liked, I know he's a controversial guy, but the Jordan Peterson 12 Rules for Life books, those really helped me in terms of mindset and organization. Especially the first book that he did. I can't remember the year that it came out, but that one really helped in terms of just personal growth. And, there's a whole bunch of other ones like Power of Habit and 7 Habits of Highly Effective, like all those books that everybody says are the top 10 self-help book.
You've tried them all.
Yeah, I've read them all, and they did help in the very beginning, especially when I was talking, because I was the same way. I'm going to work at 10 p.m. tonight and sleep until 11. Like when I was first doing this in university and coming out of university, I had that mindset. Those books really helped make me a professional when it came to
Right.
doing this.
Yeah, it's a very unique career path because a lot of people they're not doing this in university. They're not they kind of just decide to do it later. I would say it's common for brokers to, like you were saying with some of the new brokers, come from another profession where they have some professional experience, but maybe they don't have that entrepreneurial experience where they do manage their own time. Your career path is a bit different. Like you were doing it in university, which is funny because like I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I had done this earlier. I wish I had just started doing it earlier to get more experience and to have more time, because one of the first things you said is time is one of the most valuable things in this industry, assuming you're doing the right things.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, enough about me. Austin and I dug up that question from the last guest. Austin, do you want me to rattle it off, or are you ready there?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so our last guest asked this question, and then we'll get you to ask a question for the next guest. So,
Okay.
what's the biggest mistake that
Who is the next guest?
What? Top secret.
to be determined?
Okay. You got to give me a profession, but okay, go ahead.
It'll be a realtor or a mortgage broker.
It'll be within the real estate space. Okay, so the question is, what's the biggest mistake that you've made in your career? And then what did you learn from it? And then if you could go back, would you do something differently, or are you kind of happy that things played out the way that they did?
Biggest mistake. Well, I'll say the biggest bad habit that I used to have
Okay.
is what I was talking about earlier about being entitled if somebody doesn't want to work with me.
Okay.
Getting mad or frustrated because somebody does not want to work with you after you've put in all the work. You really have to try and put yourself in a borrower's situation. They don't know what you do. They don't know what you're doing in the background. They don't know, a lot of the times, they don't know that you don't get paid until it closes and it's 100% commission. A lot of people don't know that. So I get the frustration when somebody doesn't want to work with me after putting in all that work. I do. But at the same time, I have to ask myself, was I upfront with the client? Did I ask them if they were working with anybody? Did I ask them if they're exclusively wanting me to do this mortgage for them? Did I do a bad job? And did someone simply get a better mortgage for them? Like all those things can happen. Like you go buy a car, like something that people have all done, buying a car or purchasing a high ticket item. You know when somebody's hounding you to buy something from them and they're pushy and arrogant and entitled, you feel that. You don't want to work with them. And a lot of the times you kind of just ignore them or string them along until it's done and then you don't have to deal with them anymore. So yeah, one of the things that I did poorly was thinking that because somebody was talking to me, they were automatically my client and then not handling it appropriately. So now at the beginning, I encourage it. I want them to talk to multiple people because I want them to figure out if there is a better option for them out there that is not me. I know a lot of the times there will not be, but personality wise, you're not going to get everybody.
Have you started that's a great answer. Have you started front loading people more with a couple of those things? Like, do you tell people, hey, this is how we're compensated? Like, do you do any of that stuff?
I try to gauge it. If it's a first time home buyer or someone who's new to Canada, I'll bring it up a lot more. If it's someone that I know or who knows that I'm in this line of work and who has also bought before,
Right.
probably not going to go down that road too much. The one thing that I am doing though is I'm doing way more work up front than the average person. So like if somebody calls me and says, "What's your best rate?" I just throw out the absolute rock bottom rate that I can get with a complete buy down. And I say that's the rate. And I don't do anything more. And then they say, "Okay, well, I want to do a mortgage application with you." And then I do absolutely everything. I collect all the documents, I underwrite it, I pull credit, I review credit, and I will set up a rate hold for them and give them different levels of affordability, because I know the bank rep or the other mortgage broker is not going to do all that work in the beginning
Right.
because they don't know if they've got that client or not. It's a huge opportunity. Like, that's the sales pitch. The sales pitch is not getting on the phone with someone and telling them why they should work with you. It's doing the actual work and showing them how quickly you can turn it around and how easy you are to be with.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, you're making it hard for them to say no to you almost. You're like, "Look, I've already given you everything I possibly can
Yeah.
at this point." It's not to say that you still don't say, "Hey, look, if you can find something better, like by all means." And you are taking some risk, I guess, a little bit, because you're putting your time into something that's not guaranteed. But you're making that part of your value proposition to say, "Look, like I'm going to be the best option for you. I've already provided the information to show that. But by all means, you still have free reign to do whatever you like."
You're going to lose clients no matter what. You're going to lose more clients if you do a half-assed job in the beginning than if you do the best job.
Yeah, I like that. Like the people that we're going to shop around are already going to shop around anyway. They're not
Mhm.
going to change if anything, you're trying to basically say, look, I've already given you the best option. But if they were planning to shop around anyway, they were going to do it. So I really like that. Let's get a question from you really quick, and then we can wrap this up. So something you want to ask, it can be kind of general. It doesn't have to be specific, whatever you feel.
Okay, let's see the next guest that you guys have on. What's their
Mhm.
succession plan?
Cool. I
How
like
are
that
they
one.
going to retire?
That's a
Are
good
they going
question.
to sell? Are they going to mentor? Are they going to take half? And yeah, I'd be curious to hear whether it's a realtor or a mortgage broker. How are they going to pass their book along to someone else when they're ready to retire?
That's a really interesting question in this field, because I think if you polled people, most people would have no idea. Not a clue. They're not even thinking about it. And I mean, it obviously depends on where they're at in their career, and that includes their age. But I think it was going to shock a lot of people how few people have actually thought about this. Or if they've thought about it, it's because they're like, shit, I'm turning 60 or I'm turning 65. I should probably figure this out now.
Yeah, I'm never gonna.
Well,
I'm never gonna retire.
Well,
it's
yeah,
tough
there's
when
that.
you're in a 100% commission industry because all you're focused on is how can I make enough money for this year? How
Right.
do I set myself up for the next 2 years? You're not really thinking decades down the road.
Do you want to answer the question since you asked it? Have you
I
thought
haven't
about this?
gotten there yet. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have an answer. I don't know what I would do and how I would exit.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting, like in our field, because you hear about people buying books of business, but I don't want to get too much into this, but like that can be tricky because you're basically buying somebody's clients hoping that they'll continue to work with you, but they don't know you. Like they know the person that they used to work with. They don't know you. So it's a very tricky thing to facilitate. But yeah, that's a great one. We'll definitely ask the next guest. Austin, anything else before we wrap it up today?
No, that Ryan, this was awesome. It was great to catch up with you and hear your insights and your wisdom. Yeah, we'll definitely have you back on in the future. Can you let everybody know where to find you, social, websites, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm just slowly starting to get back into social media. I had 2 pages up, one business, one personal, posted to neither of them. And now I'm trying to just focus on one Instagram page and then go from there. So if anybody wants to find me on Instagram, please follow me because I'm desperately trying to find people to follow back. It's just Ryan Oake. And then, yeah, we're going to start trying to grow a YouTube page and everything, but Instagram's really the only thing that I'm trying to be on right now.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We had a great time with you. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. This was great.